NFL Daily by Chat Sports today is looking at the top free agents that are still available after Dalvin Cook and Ezekiel Elliott signed. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with our top free agents list. And the player that we have to begin with, of course, is none other than Jadeveon Clowney. Now, Clowney has talked to the Ravens. He's talked to the Jags. And the big concern with Clowney isn't the talent level. I think we all can sit here and say that Clowney still has a lot to offer. But can he stay healthy? That is the million-dollar question for the former number one overall pick and three-time Pro Bowler. Dalton Risner is still available at this point in time, formerly the Denver Broncos. And this is a guy that has had a decent career to this point. He is a starting caliber offensive guard, but still waiting for a place to call home after he was replaced by Ben Powers in Denver. Melvin Ingram. Melvin Ingram has had a good career. He's been a journeyman the last few seasons, but still has been able to manage a lot of sacks over that stretch as well. And with Melvin Ingram, the best thing you can say about him, about what he's been able to do in his career, has been able to plug and play. He's changed teams mid-season and still made an impact one way or the other. So I expect the same from Melvin Gordon wherever he goes. Our pin comment today, who's the best free agent left right now? We're going to all these names, but I want to hear from you guys first. Sound off in the comment section. Let us know what you think. Who is the best free agent left at this point in time? Weigh in. Tell us what you think in the comment section below. Next on our list, we'll go to the corner position. That's where we find Bryce Callahan, formerly the Broncos and the Los Angeles Chargers. And one team I would watch for with Callahan is the Baltimore Ravens. Remember, that team has been banged up. Rock Ya-Sin's hurt. Trayvon Mullins out for the year. They have taken a lot of stabs at that corner position. They're looking for options. Bryce Callahan could be the answer they're looking for. Another former teammate of Callahan, Ronald Darby, is still available at this point as well. Darby, I think that with him, similar situation to Callahan, where Baltimore comes to mind, and other teams out there, that anyone that's looking for a corner, these guys could both play at a relatively cheap price somewhere. Next on the list, we find Kareem Hunt at the running back position. Kareem Hunt recently had visits with the Saints, the Vikings, and the Colts. And if all things were equal, I think Kareem Hunt makes a lot of sense for the Minnesota Vikings to be their number two running back. Remember, he's been a number two running back the last few years, so his body is fresher than most players of his age and of his talent level. And of those teams that have looked at him, that is the team that has the best chance to compete with an already dynamic offense there with Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins and company. Jarvis Landry. Jarvis Landry hasn't been the same player the last few seasons that he was when he was in Cleveland and Miami prior to that. But here's a guy in Jarvis Landry that throughout his career has been effective in the slot, been a good possession receiver. He's not going to look for a lot of money at this point, but Jarvis Landry is a guy that I think could, if the main thing is can he stay healthy. If he can stay healthy, he can have an impact and get you, I still think, 500 or 600 yards potentially for your offense there. Matt Ioannidis, who's at the defensive tackle spot. Ioannidis is a guy that was recently with Carolina. He was also with the Washington Commanders. And I am shocked he is still available in free agency at this point in time. I think Ioannidis is starting caliber, that Ioannidis would be a nice fit wherever he goes. And you take a team like Seattle, for example, that doesn't have a clear answer what they're going to do in the interior of the defensive line. Look for Ioannidis potentially there. Kyle Van Noy is another option. Van Noy, a very good pass rusher, won a Super Bowl with the Patriots, was on their all-decade team, won a couple Super Bowls, rather, with the Patriots. What does he still have left in the tank? Quite a lot, actually. I think that Kyle Van Noy is going to be a difference maker wherever he goes, potentially. If you are looking for a pass rusher of sorts, Kyle Van Noy could be a good fit. I expect him to sign before the season begins. Let's ask you about Kyle Van Noy now. Where will Kyle Van Noy sign in NFL free agency? Give me one team in the comment section that comes to mind where you think Kyle Van Noy could go. Weigh in, predict it for me, who it is in the comment section. Let me know where you think Van Noy ends up. One guy that might not have a home when the season begins is Leonard Fournette. It has been an up-and-down career for Leonard Fournette as he began with the Jacksonville Jaguars as they spent a top pick on him, top 3 pick to be exact, when he was coming out of LSU. And things didn't necessarily work out with the Jags as they would have hoped. He goes to Tampa Bay, gets paired up with Tom Brady. Wasn't much of a receiving back when he showed up, but Tom Brady turned him into one and was a nice threat. We've seen him slow down a little bit, but could still have something to offer somebody as a good number 2 back potentially. But I will say this, am not expecting that a deal gets done anytime soon for Leonard Fournette. Kareem Hunt will get signed first, and then Fournette could potentially sign after that. When NFL free agents sign to a new team, we cover it here on NFL Dailies. We're talking about the NFL, get this, every day, daily, here on the channel with news and rumors. We'll also do our live shows from time to time. We also are doing our Red Zone channel throughout the season. Stay up to date with the latest happenings across the National Football League. We're live when we have our trade deadline shows, free agency periods, the draft. We have it all covered here on the channel. If you love the National Football League, this is the channel for you. Subscribe now for free, youtube.com/chatsportstv. Next on the list we find is Chris Wormley available, still trying to find a home of some sorts. Meanwhile, center Ben Jones, formerly of the Tennessee Titans, is out there. I think in Ben Jones's case, I would expect him to be one of those guys that steps in when we see an injury to an interior lineman, to a center of some sorts, that Ben Jones will have his name called pretty quickly to get a job. Casey Hayward, haven't talked about Casey Hayward in a minute. He's still out there at this point, but some of those other corners that we mentioned, like Bryce Callahan and Ronald Darby, probably get that phone call before he does. Carlos Dunlap at the defensive end spot. Dunlap's had a really good career with his time in Kansas City, in Seattle, and some of those other teams. He is still a very good pass rusher. I think he can still play at a high level, but guys like Melvin Ingram and others are going to, and Kyle Van Noy are going to get that call before Carlos Dunlap does. And then there's Akiem Hicks, who most recently we've seen him with the Bucks, formerly with the New York Giants. He is going to be another one of those guys that is going to be a last-minute phone call, but still could find somewhere to play before the season begins on that front. So there you have it. That is all of the free agents that are still available at this point in time. Personally, I think Clowney, Risner, Van Noy, those are the guys I'm expecting to get their phone calls first. Kareem Hunt as well, to get a deal done, to show up and play before this season begins. If you made it to the end of today's video, you guys are the absolute best. We certainly appreciate you. We can't do this without you. Spam Real One in the comments section if you made it to the end, and we shall see you next time right here on NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again.